having grown up socially awkward like I did and having all the neuro stuff that I do, I got to get used to very awkward situations early. So one of the ones that always jumps out at me is like when somebody dies, everybody's super awkward. And instead of saying what they should be saying, like for me, it's more like, hey, my condolences. If you need anything from me, I'm here. And I walk away. People say some of the weirdest things when somebody dies. And I know a lot of it is because of their discomfort, but they walk up and say things like they're in a better place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was always challenging. I'm not even gonna hold you. Because what if they're not? What if they're a piece of shit? I'm not even gonna hold you. Should they be in a better place? Are they in a better place? Is there a better place? So many questions about this place that we just assume people go to after that's somehow better than the hell they created here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And in that moment, I don't think anybody wants to really hear that. Like if your spouse just passed or your mom or your dad, you want to be in that moment to do your grieving and keep them. And most of the time, I think a lot of people want to be a part of the conversation, and they either want to be the person that's saying the right thing to fix it or saying the helpful thing. And so they scramble, or they definitely don't want to say the wrong thing. And so they do, which is kind of funny to me. But for me, because most of my interactions are like when you grow up the way I did, you have to work through them. This is no different now. Like now, this is just another interaction that you've worked through. And so I just say the thing that I'm supposed to say and I keep walking.
For me, I just want to chill. You know what I'm saying? Let's listen to some music, maybe have some drinks. I don't want to do none of that shit. I don't know. Everybody's grieving process is different.
I don't go to funerals for that reason, for a number of reasons, but primarily to avoid the awkward, uncomfortable interactions of like feeling like I'm inserting myself in people's grief. Like it makes me extremely uncomfortable. So I'll send like a text and some flowers or something like.
Yeah. You know what would really help? Is money.
Hello? There's that.
Write a check.
Hey, just send me some
send
dough,
that,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Send that joint.
Solid, I'm sorry for your loss. Here's 50 million. For sure.
Whoa.
Here's
50.
Here's
50 million.
I'm all better. You know who was there for me in my time of need? Jeff. When he sent me 20K. You know?
20K.
Mid-tier, you're like, oh,
oh, I want to see one of those where it's like, oh, Lord Jesus, oh, Lord. They see the chat. Oh, Lord. Oh.
I don't know if they're in a better place, but I am. Have you seen these sconces? Like,
oh, man.
The windows are immaculate.
Man.
Yeah, that's all.
Driveway done last weekend.
Right.
And I think that's a good jumping off point for me to say. I welcome y'all to the End of a Species podcast. I am Jeff from End of a Species, and I'm joined with my friend and my other friend, Super Solid, who has been on here a few times. Y'all know his face. And the incredible Christina Carol. Welcome aboard. Thank you for joining me for this episode that I've wanted to do this episode for a while. As soon as I saw it, because and just to be clear, we're going to be talking a little bit about the roast of Kevin Hart that was on Netflix. This happens to be an intersection of a lot of things that I look at and I'm interested in. You know, we talk about race a lot. I'm super into comedy, especially studying the different aspects of like not just the industry, but like comedy theory. And this just happened to be a spot, like a nexus point where many different things just crashed into each other. And it's a lesson in how not to manage certain situations, how not to approach specifically entertainment in front of a big audience. But I do want to start off by saying, just to clear the air, what a roast actually is historically. And roasts, I'm going to just say it, are not for us. Roasts are like a behind the scenes thing. Like if you go all the way back to like Friars Club roasts, they weren't on in front of everybody. They were in a building and then you found out about them later. Yeah, the Comedy Central is a very niche channel, cable. So it's not for everybody. And the product that you get when you're watching it is super edited. So if you're not there live, there's a lot of stuff that they're cutting out. So this happens to be somewhat unique in that it's on Netflix, which means if you got that monthly fee, you see it. And it just happens to have one of the most ubiquitous Black comedy stars in the title. So people are going to go to watch. So it's in front of a lot of people that a roast is not typically for. And I think that's a recipe for disaster. The racial element is a recipe for disaster. The amount of stuff that people are willing to do to get to the laugh or to get to the talking points is all it. I mean, I don't think any of it on paper was a good idea.
How many processes do they have to go through, right, to get to what we see on Netflix, from the writers to production? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many layers you have to go through, like the writer's process. I don't know this process. Like, you write the joke, you submit the joke, they edit the joke, that joke has to go through, I'm sure legal looks at the joke. Does Kevin look at the joke? Does the comedian look at, I just don't, I wonder how many layers that all of those atrocious jokes, how many people were like, green light, go for it.
I'm sure there was a lot of passing the buck, saying like, oh, it's not for us to limit their speech. It's not for, you know what I mean? For it to go through legal don't give a fuck as long as they're getting paid. You know what I'm saying? So they, all the bonsai trees and ships in a bottle, I'm sure they could care less. But to your point, there are a myriad of layers that this stuff has to go through. Like, to put it in perspective, they were clearly reading off of a teleprompter.
Yeah, I mirror that. I don't think legal cares because once you label it as comedy, you can say whatever you want, right? And it's not like you're defaming somebody. It's already labeled as a roast. But on the creative end, they at a minimum will have like a sound check. But for something like this, they probably have a whole rehearsal where they do a good chunk of the material. And there have been people saying that certain jokes, they did strike certain things. So there were things that people were trying to put in their set that they were like, no, that's too far.
There were worse jokes?
No, there was the one that I hear the most is that there was a joke about Robert Kraft that Tom Brady was like, nah. And we know Robert Kraft was the owner of, I don't know if he still is, but owner of New England Patriots. And he was caught in a massage spot doing the massage thing. That's an easy joke. When you have Tom Brady in the room, that joke almost writes itself, right? The constant messaging is that Tom Brady said, nah, I'm not doing that. And so there is an opportunity to say, hey, this is too much. This is not how anybody allowed a joke about George Floyd, who wasn't his family's not there. Obviously, he clearly, according to the court, was murdered. Mm-hmm. Right? And to let that just be a thing where it's got nothing to do with anything. And then to double down and defend it afterwards. Just be like, hey, that's just the stuff he does. What do you want me to do? That's crazy to me. But there's no way that people didn't know that was happening. That wasn't a rogue, I'm just going to vamp that joke.
Right. And I think that's why I asked the question, like, how many layers? Like, why didn't it? It speaks to like the lack of humanity. Like, for so many people to just be like, oh, that'll be fine, black, white, indifferent, whoever saw it. Like, this is a real event that took place, a real, loss that happened to our community, and no one thought to be like, maybe leave that one out. Let's focus on the people that are in the room. It's just a lack of responsibility, like social responsibility, in my opinion.
I also want to call to attention, like, the timeline where they do ask him to cut out the George Floyd joke. Imagine what the narrative is after that, right? Where Tony Hinchcliffe goes on his interview circuit and tells everybody, Netflix wouldn't let me make a George Floyd joke, right? Like, the liberal left, is at it again. The liberal elites are trying to silence your voice. I think another big thing as far as the cutting out of the jokes is probably they cut out the jokes that were the most costly, the ones that could probably open them up for litigation, the ones that could, you know what I'm saying? Apparently, and for that reason, I think they had a reasonable expectation that the George Floyd joke wasn't going to either impact Netflix or would only impact Kevin Hart.
What do you think the role of these types of performances, especially when they have this built-in, let me take black women and black people down a peg? What role do they play in broader media and society?
I think we're entering another, let me correct that. Minstrelsy has continued to evolve. The involvement of black people in that minstrelsy has varied, but the idea of comedically dehumanizing black people, dehumanizing black women, they literally said the words buck, right? Like, we know that there are archetypes in minstrelsy. You got the buck, you got the Mamie, you got the Jezebel, you have the knight, the jester. What's the other ones? The interlocutor, right? They have certain roles. I bet you if I scroll back through, I could kind of pick out who was what. Yeah, Naeem Lynn kind of had this position of reverence as like authority there because he was so close to Kevin Hart. You know what I mean? But sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. But the role, I think, is that comedy, at least the comedy world, has had minstrelsy, evolutions of minstrelsy as a core component, like as a good, healthy chunk, like an arm, right? If you were to lose your arm, you got other arms, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you'll be all right. Get over it. You got other arms. You know what I'm saying? Like, learn to write with your left hand. But how would you feel about losing your arm? You'd be devastated. You'd be like, what the fuck? I like my arms. Right. And so to have an arm of the comedy body that is just the dehumanization of women and black people, and then to lose that arm, it must be very painful for comedians to feel like they're losing that arm.
Interesting to me is that the approach, even when people were making fun of Tony, like, is it Hinchcliffe? Am I saying that? Whatever.
Hilltop.
Him, like Tony, whatever the fuck his name is. Hemorrhoid. We'll call him Tony Hemorrhoid. They made fun of him by calling him gay. And at first, I said, "Is this another Dave Root? Is he gay?" Turns out, no. We're just using that as a pejorative. We just use that as a pejorative. Like, hey, you gay now. When you could be calling him stupid because this dude went to MSG and made a joke about Puerto Rico as if it were some other country. Like, You know, like if it was a foreign land. So he's stupid. And he's sitting there and you could probably dig into his catalog and find more stupid shit he said and just call him stupid. But no, he gotta be gay. And so like that's yet another layer of, hey, we're not just gonna lean into the racism and the misogynoir, but we're also going to add a layer of just all the things. And these are now punchlines. They're not the comedy part of it isn't the point anymore. Making the dehumanization comedy is now the point. Mm-hmm. And so that's why the idea that somebody's husband killed themselves, nobody knows what the situation was there, what the mental health scenario was, or even if that person's family is watching and you're making it this, again, punchline. Because if a man kills himself, that's gotta be because he couldn't live with that broad that was always nagging. Mm-hmm. You don't know nothing about Cheryl Underwood. So like, do you know, like, what are you basing that on? It's just, hey, we're just going to throw that out there. Oh, and by the way, black women with afros, that's a man. Mm-hmm. You got to be a man. How you playing the drums at the same time, you know, because Questlove got an afro, so you got to be a man. That's not a punchline. That's just saying.
You're trying to be harmful. It feels like, to answer your question, Jay, it's like, I feel like things like that roast, heavy on the air quotes with the roast, right? It's just a backdoor way of propping the door to the dehumanization of Black people and Black women and marginalized groups of people. And if they can laugh at it, if we can get them to laugh at it when it happens on a grander scale, but y'all were just laughing at this before. It's a joke. It's not that serious. Nothing's that serious. And it minimizes the harm caused to Black men and women in our country. If we can nullify it and make them numb to it, and if we have jesters like Kevin who will just tap dance as long as he's getting the check, well, Kevin's fine with it. Why aren't you guys like Kevin? Kevin's fine with it. We love Kevin. Kevin's great. Kevin lets y'all disrespect him every time y'all open your mouth as long as y'all pay him to do so. But that's not the case. Like, I can go on. Go ahead. Because that shit pissed me off. Go on. It's just hard to see. It's not funny. That's not comedy to me.
But that's why he's okay with it. Because of the check. Like, that's why he's okay with it. Because then it's as easy as he could turn around and say, you know, my team, we worked. And don't get me wrong, Kevin Hart is one of the hardest working people in comedy. But I don't see anything there where he's saying like, no, because of my integrity, I'm not going to do this thing. Mm-hmm. The check is the point.
Yeah.
And so there isn't even a follow-up of saying, hey, here's what I'm doing for the broader group. There are people, like specific testimonies of people who say, hey, he had my back. But I don't see how that translates into some sort of movement of I'm helping the community, I'm doing something for us or whoever. I don't see that at all.
I'm trying to grasp, is it funnier when the person being roasted is in on the joke? Is that the signal to us that it's okay to laugh?
I think it depends, but because there is such a thing as, you know, making fun of somebody who deserves it, right? And taking them down a peg. But in a roast, the people there have signed up for this. They've said, okay, I'm going to go to a roast, especially when it's comedians. Most professional comedians have participated in roasts that you don't even know about. And their life is a roast. Like showing up at a comedy club, they're cracking on each other, telling jokes. So they're used to that environment. But even whether they're in on it or not, I don't think it's really up to them to okay certain types of jokes, given the audience, right? I don't think it's because in the same way that somebody can say, hey, I'm proud to have seen the first Armenian American such and such, because I feel like that's me. In that same way, an Armenian American who sees another Armenian American who's getting mollywopped by jokes just about Armenian Americans, they have license to feel that as well, with the same thing that makes them proud is the same thing that's going to make them feel the shame. And so I don't think that, like, me being Dominican, I can't just be like, hey, make fun of me being Dominican broadly to say Dominicans or whatever, because I could take it. Well, if I'm in front of a bunch of people in the broad Dominican audience, I don't speak for them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not giving you the okay on their behalf. The community speaks for themselves, and I have to be cognizant of that.
I think what's ignored is it sounds like you're saying that there's a greater socio-political climate that will, and those considerations that will influence how people interpret these jokes in the first place, or the impact that the jokes have.
You know what a good example is? Chris Rock. Chris Rock made Good Hair. That was in 2009. Being reverent to black woman hair, right? And you can have your critiques on how he did it or whatever, but that was the intention. And then turns right around years later, and the whole Will Smith incident was fueled by making fun of a black woman's hair. So this is the lens I look at it through. The exact same way you want the medal pinned to you to say, look, I get it. Black women hair is sacred and cultural, and you should expect that's the same place that the feeling of what you mean you're gonna make fun of a black woman's struggle with hair from that same mouth, the same brain, the same idea machine generated that too. And that's that's kind of what I mean.
I don't know. I feel like I was thinking about this earlier because, like, I was raised with two of my sisters, right? I'm gonna protect them because they're my people in that way, right? And when I look at the show or whatever, and I hear the different things, and not even just that one particularly, but there's a running theme of just this lack of care for our people, that we just open the door, and as these white men are just being deplorable, no, you can't. You're not allowed to do that. You specifically, like, you can't do that. And it just wasn't there. Like, that bothered me so bad. It's the opening of a door to just any old kind of treatment, and it's the direction of where we're going, honestly. Or we've been going.
So that leads to the most important question to me. You have a black comedian and you have a comedian that happens to be black. And so the question then becomes, which one of those two is Kevin Hart? Like, where on the spectrum is he?
I'm trying to think of some black-centric jokes from Kevin Hart. And not just like black-centric because they are part of my personal experience and I'm black, therefore this is a black joke, right? When I say black-centric joke, a joke that, like, communally we share a reality and that's why we understand the joke.
I'll tell you what he thinks is a black joke. All of his stories about his father being a crackhead. I'm pretty certain that he thinks that's a black joke, especially with the way that it's framed in front of the audiences that he has done that in front of, right? When he talks about his kids, it's very neutral language. Kid does a silly thing, right? When he talks about the neighborhood that he lives in, or the going to the school and talking to teachers, very neutral language. But when he talks about his specifically, either his father or anything that's happened with his struggles with, like, it, that is where all of a sudden it's like very specific that it's a black man.
You know who's 100% a black comedian? Tony Hart. That guy's for the community there.
Just say his last name one more time.
Tony
Hubajube.
You know, you and I talked a little bit earlier about like double consciousness, right? And like having to internalize your identity in a society where you're not the baseline. Athena said something on my live last night, basically saying it doesn't make sense for black to be a core identity marker in a country that's homogeneously black. Right. So like if everybody's black, it doesn't make sense for them to be like black power. Like it doesn't make sense because everybody's black. And so your experiences are going to be, your cultural markers are going to be more influenced by your geopolitical environment. Right. White people don't have that in America because they're the social baseline. Right. They turn on the TV. It's them. They read the news, it's them. The Forbes, it's them. And so my biggest thing here is like for black people, we have to figure out what it means to be black in a country where we're not the social baseline, where we don't turn on the TV and it's us, where for so long we've had to go and hunt for us. We've had to go and look for us. Oh, I used to say this all the time. You can walk in any black household and see 5 of a set of 100 DVDs back in the day, right? I used to look for them when I go in. Okay, I see Baby Boy. Okay, I see Holiday Heart. 5 Heartbeats. This is a 5 Heartbeats house? Okay.
Yeah.
I know where I'm at, right? There's not as much hunting anymore. There's always been like that little token black person that they threw in for, equal rights or something, whatever, we did it, we accomplished it, right? But now there's like black media, not your BET, what that man named Tyler Durden? Tyler Perry.
Mm-hmm. Your best friend.
Tyler Hinchcliffe.
Not imagine that man.
Yeah, y'all don't know. I want to run fade with Tyler Perry, but there's just black media. There's black representation keeps growing, which is one of the things that is upsetting white people so much because they feel like the status quo, they're losing their identity status. Whatever their identity status was is now being pushed to the periphery of society because of the representation. They're scared of that. They're very afraid of that. But for black folks, we have to learn about ourselves through a Eurocentric lens. We have to learn about ourselves through a white supremacist lens, right? And we at the same time we learn about ourselves, we learn about the stereotypes. The same time we learn about ourselves, we learn about the pseudoscience. At the same time we learn about ourselves, we learn about the oppression that was written into law, right? So we have to dig through, we have to take a whole February and go, Charles Drew, oh, Malcolm X, oh, cool, the Lewis Latimer, yay, Dante Bichette, shout out to Denver. To get to stardom, in many ways, you have to do that assimilation of whiteness. You have to shirk off. You have to be the palatable version, the version of black that will be accepted in mainstream media. Even though in the black community, we have so much reverence and so much value for a Tony Woods or a Patrice O'Neal or, I'm gonna say it, and people are gonna be a Godfrey. You know what I mean?
Who? Yo, I'll fight over Godfrey.
I'll fight behind Godfrey.
Yeah.
But so when we talk about what's that white boy name?
You talking about
he was
Gary?
an MP, Gary Owens.
Yeah.
Gary Owens, a black comedian.
Yeah. Gary Owen is a black comedian.
Ain't gonna hold you, right? But there's that immersion.
Hold on, he a black comedian that happened to be white.
Right.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So you got the
black
comedian that happened to be black. He's a black comedian. Happened to be black. Yeah, bingo. And so when we say there's a reverence for the intracultural performers, right? There's a value that we hold for those because they are central to us. They are what would be if we were the social baseline.
One thing I want to point out is we do have more black media, but here's the transaction. White people are the social baseline. So we're gonna you have a BET. That's a favor. That's not you getting what you owed because you part of society and we make it. That's a favor. And the exchange for the favor is you got to be okay with the occasional Chris Rock sitting in front of Louis C.K. while he says the hard R to his face and going, he a crazy dude. He just said in front of me. That's funny. That's yeah, that's so funny. There's a podcast called Shits and Gigs. Two guys, funny guys. It's not. They're not comedians. It's funny, incidentally, by the fact that for the most part, they look at stuff that's online, they read it, and they laugh about it, and then they sprinkle in stuff that happened to them. So it's funny in that their laughter is infectious. So they're not comedians per se, but it's a popular podcast. These two guys, James and Fuhad, and they went to, I forget the name of Andrew Schultz's podcast. Fuck it anyway. But they went to that podcast and they were criticized for sitting there while Andrew Schultz made fun of black women. Just made jokes about black women and they just sat there and ha ha ha. Kendrick wrote about it. I think in Whacked Out Murals, like referenced that incident. So now in the backlash, they said that when you go to a bigger podcast than what they have, you kind of freeze. You're not sure what to do. And so they apologized and said that they didn't meet that moment. The question then becomes, what would any of us do if we were in that Kevin Hart roast room, hearing the George Floyd joke, hearing the jokes that about Cheryl Underwood's husband, or comparing her to black men, any of those racist jokes in front of us? What would we do in that scenario? Christina, I'm going to say that I'm going to identify and call out that you are socially at a disadvantage to this question, because no matter what you do, whether you smile or scream, you know what they're going to say.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I just want to call that out for the audience, that you're not going to say the wrong thing, but it doesn't matter what you say. They're going to be like, oh, you aggressive, you know.
Yeah, I'm a black woman. It's the key to aggression. You know what I mean? Black woman. No, I'm kidding. I would like to think, right? I don't have a vested interest in that. And I did take time to think about like the people that were on those couches, right? They're comedians and a lot of them are trying to get on or trying to stay relevant or whatever. So they had their own different motivations. Me, the way I feel about it, it's just not my scene. I get up, I leave. Like that's what I would do today, right? But again, I can't put myself in their position and be like, oh, this is what I would have done. I don't know what their thing is. I thought it was distasteful. I would have gotten up and left. That's just my what I feel I would have done. Like I'm being placed into that situation in real life, who knows? But that's what I would like to believe I would have done.
This is part of the reason I do the Jeff Makes It Make Sense, is because I believe in rocking out with the fundamentals. I think everything should lead with theory. And I would not be okay with doing if I were a comedian, I wouldn't be okay with doing a roast in front of everybody on Netflix, because that's not where it belongs. So I probably wouldn't even be in the room. I would be like, y'all are like, I see the signs you guys are running into a freight train. You guys are like sitting on the tracks of something that you're not gonna be able to control. I don't want to be in that room when it happens. So I'm just going to bow out. Like, I don't care what it's not worth the potential hit. This is a chaos room. This is something that isn't supposed to be here. You're asking me to be in a room full of aristocrats jokes in front of people who are not supposed to hear aristocrats jokes, and then just think that we're all going to come out clean. And the people who are not going to come out clean, like Tony Haberdashery is going to go back to his people and they're going to pat him on the back.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be like, you went to Black America and you told them about themselves. You did that.
Mm-hmm.
And Cheryl Underwood had to sit on a podcast with Shane Gillis and be like, oh, no, I'm cool with it. Whether or not she is, I'm not going to speak for her. But there's no other message that she can give, because if she gives a different message, that's a wrap. We've seen what happened to other Black woman comedians when they go, hey, this ain't right. I'm not being treated right. Your career is over. Right. So for me, I'm like, I'm not willing to risk all this stuff I worked for to put myself in a spot where I got to align with people who are assholes in order for things to work out my way. I'm not willing to do it.
Okay, I'm going to try and tackle this from two positions. Position number one, a comedian. Position number two, the audience. When I was in the Army, I was placed into an infantry battalion surrounded by a bunch of racist ass white people. When you're already in the room, you survive the room. From Kevin Hart's position, the story afterward is, hey, Kevin, I didn't know it was going to be like that. Or I did know it was going to be like that. And, or dear audience, I apologize. You know what I'm saying? Whether I agree with what was said or not, I realize the harm it caused you. Right? For the audience, have you ever been baited and switched? Somebody invited me. They said, hey, young solid, I'm about 16. Okay, and I got a crush on Lark. And my boy Jared say, we about to go over Lark House. And I'm with it. We going to Lark House? She's named after a bird. And she smells like cocoa butter. Let's do it. We get there. It's Bible study. This is not what I was promised.
Ha, guy.
It's 8 p.m. on a Friday. This is not what was supposed to go down. Right? The audience goes there to Kevin Hart and to Netflix to see shit that they can laugh at. The bait is, come here, you like my comedic stylings, come and laugh. Other comedians are going to be there. They're going to roast me. It's going to be funny. And when you get there, what you got was, let's dehumanize women and Black folks and queer people. Mm-hmm. There was a bait and switch there. The cries will be free speech. You're ruining comedy with your wokeness. Da 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 da. But for the responsible entertainer who puts it all together, the answer is not, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
Right.
The nigga that got the biggest paycheck from Netflix is like, what do you want? What do you want? You want? This is a part of my world that is common. It's accepted. Not everybody's going to have a problem with what happened, but what I recognize is the damage it did to you. That what I apologize for is that you were coming here expecting to see me, to see us, to see the Kevin Hart that you know, Jumanji 3. And what you got was your purple suit makes you look like a vajayjay. You know what I'm saying? That's you can do that. And then moving forward, you make the you do the process of dismantling those rooms for existing in the first place. You don't want those rooms to exist anymore, so you burn those rooms down. Am I making sense there?
More than you know.
You know, I don't want you to think that it's revolutionary. It's not revolutionary to survive.
I'm gonna say this. This episode is called The Setup for that very reason. So I'm actually glad you hit on this bait and switch thing, because that's what a setup is in comedy. There's a setup and a punchline. The punchline is the switch. Comedy, you got your premise, setup, punchline, and the punchline is supposed to either reveal some truth, change your perspective, give you some sort of something, and that's where the laughter lives. That thing that you were given. And it's typically not supposed to be taking anything away. And I think insofar as we constantly have to have this conversation, when we start doing more content, because this isn't it, this isn't the end of the convo about this, but when we start doing more content about this specific roast and others like it, I want to focus on the thing that people have that's taken away from them. Whether it's their autonomy to be able to have a natural reaction, their sense of security that they live in a community, whether it's the comedy community, the entertainment community, or whatever other industry, that it cares about them. Or for the audience, their innocence to think that, hey, these are humans I'm following, not horrible asshole people who don't care what trauma they visit on other people, as long as the numbers look good for the C-suite, right? The punchline is supposed to give you something, at a minimum a laugh, but preferably like perspective education. And I feel like we keep taking things away. I think this is a good place to say thanks for hanging out with me, talking about this. It's a good introduction to how crazy this whole thing was. I'll pause here so y'all could tell us about your plugs, your things that you got going on.
I'll be hosting a roast next week on Netflix.
The roast of Tony Harbecue Jr. the Third, Esquire.
Attendees will be David Duke, Richard Spencer. that guy that annexed India, and
another guy with a goofy hat.
No, seriously, what are you doing? What's that?
So y'all, I'm working on a project to center the voices of Black soldiers from the 216th Infantry Battalion. They experienced a whole bunch of racism and never get to tell the story. And I want to make a mini doc to tell the story. So if you're interested, the link is in Jeff's description. I've just decided now. I've just obligated Jeff to put my shit in his description. So, and recognizing that he could just cut this out. So, yeah, if he wants to, he's going to edit it. But that's the main thing we got going on right now. Also, the race and ethnicity classes are on Patreon, on my Patreon. Some other shit that's going to be in his description. I got to cut that out. I got to stop doing that. You asked me for pluggables, man. I don't know what to tell you. More. All right. We got the racism and ethnicity class. Race and ethnicity class on Wednesdays in my Patreon. The link will be in the bio. If you want to come and learn a entry-level sociology class about race and ethnicity, I'm your boy.
Unless you're white, that you call him boy. I'm sorry. I just felt it necessary. It get a little slippery on the tongue around here. This is my turn. I wish I had as much going on as Solid. I don't.
That's not true, y'all. She just can't tell y'all about it.
Yeah, there is some stuff that I can't tell y'all about, but there's something. The thing that I can tell y'all about is that I am almost finished with my book From Christian to Christina. Okay, it chronicles my deconstruction from a 30-plus year Christian to a non-believer in the God of the Christian Bible. So that'll be fun. More to come on that, but that's the only thing I can tell you about. Everything else is top secret, and it won't be in this bio.
We'll find a way to put stuff in the description. As far as me, y'all already know. Subscribe to the YouTube. Do all the things, like, comment. What do I got going on? I'm telling people that they got to subscribe. I will be emceeing Solid's Roast next week on Netflix. I signed up just now. I got an email. They're sending me a nice big check to smile and give this type of pound to David Duke, and I'm like, yeah, come in strong for that. I am also starting and announcing in this episode the title of the reaction style show that we're going to be doing, where the first episode will be centering on this roast. So we're going to be looking at clips of this plus others that are like tangential to it. And the title is, drumroll, this is the part where I'll insert a drum roll. It's called the Marshmallow Brain Audit. And so every episode will have me and my friends hanging out, reacting to some goofy stuff. Some of it's going to be real smart. Some of it's going to be real not smart. And then giving it a marshmallow brain score. So that's the thing to look. The thing that took the longest was coming up with the algorithm for the score that we go at the end. Because I'm really precise with numbers. So the score at the end is the thing that, like reacting to stuff is easy. So keep on the lookout for that. That'll be like the next tier of shows. I'm Jeff from End of a Species. I'm here with Solid, Super, also known as Soup and Salad, Christina Carol, the Great. And I will see y'all next time on the, what do they call it? Is it the Black Hand side?
Yeah.